of a, it's going to kind of be a, you guys having your opportunity to ask any questions you have. I have a few updates that I want to go through, most of which you've already gotten, but just as reminders, and then really opening up to any questions you may have about how things are going, anything that's just come up that you just might want an answer to. So it's a little bit different than maybe our previous town halls where I had more of an agenda. And I have some things, but this is your opportunity to chat with me and ask any questions. So let's get into the updates. So the first thing is, I think you guys got these updates already. Our fall festivities are happening next week. So we're really excited. We've actually changed the name of that. We are no longer referring to that as Halloween. We want it to be an inclusive activity. And so it's now going to be our fall festivities, and it's going to be a fall kind of theme versus a Halloween theme. We're still saying that kids can wear a costume if they'd like, but we're having pumpkins and maybe some cookies and cider and things like that. That's more fall oriented than just specific to Halloween. So the other piece of that is we are going to do an 11:30 dismissal for our little guys, just so we can have a little less. We wanted them to wear their costumes, and we normally would have them bring their costumes and we would help them change into the costume, but that's really not possible this year. So we're going to have them wear the costume to school if they'd like to and stay in the costume. And so we want to have, kind of a shortened day to have some celebrations and celebrate. So, and then the 11:30 allows our older guys to come on campus because they're coming on at 12. So we don't want to have that overlap. So we need to have an 11:30 dismissal there so we can accommodate for that. Are there any questions about the fall festivity day? Great. The second thing that we have on our agenda next week is we have our racial equity forum that's going to be on Monday. And again, I made a little error on my original email to you guys. The lower division kids are going to participate in that forum at 10 a.m. and the upper division kids are going to participate at 9 a.m. So I flip-flopped those times. And if you guys, I think you guys know who the upper and lower divisions, and I shouldn't even say that because we had to change that a little bit. It's really classes 1, 2, and 3 are lower division in Palo Alto, and classes 4 and 5 are lower division in South Bay, and then the opposite of that for upper division. We're really excited to have our speakers back. I think you guys probably were part of the first series that we had with Kenneth and Spirit. So those guys are coming back, and the upper division kids are going to do Brown versus Board of Education. They're going to review that, kind of have a discussion and go through that. And our little guys are going to do the Ruby Bridges story. And I actually watched the Disney movie a couple of weeks ago. There is an old Disney movie about Ruby Bridges, and it's really a great show. So if you have the opportunity to do that this weekend, maybe look it up. Any questions about that forum on Monday? Nothing there? Okay, fantastic. And then of course we have parent-teacher conferences coming up the week of November 2nd. I think, Sarah, is it 3 days of parent-teacher conferences? Okay, so Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Mm-hmm. So kind of our previous schedule that we had before we were in shelter in place. And then we also have an 11:30 dismissal for the lower division on those days. The upper division is still the same, no changes there. On Thursday and Friday, they'll be on campus 12 to 3. And you guys are probably already getting that information from your staff about scheduling those conferences. Now, if you have an IEP within 30 days, the IEP is the suffice for the conference. There won't be much more to update, outside of that IEP meeting. So we won't schedule a parent conference if you've had an IEP within 30 days. Let's see here. Any questions about parent conferences? I'll be joining quite a few of them. I can't join all of them. So I may be seeing you guys in a couple of weeks again for some conferences. Let's see here. We have also canceled our picture day. I think that might have been originally on our calendar for picture day. Of course, we're not having visitors on campus. And so that will be hopefully postponed and not canceled, actually. Hopefully we'll have those guys back in the spring when fingers crossed things are continue to moving in the right direction with our county and our state. Our state and our county look really good compared to the rest of the nation. So thank you guys. I think you all are adhering to lots of safety protocols, and I really appreciate that because it's keeping our community, our EBC community safe, our larger county, and obviously our state. So I really appreciate all the work that you guys are doing there. Okay, any questions about those updates? I think those are all the updates as far as logistics and things like that. Any questions about those things?
Jody, we have one question in the chat that parents were given the option of scheduling a conference even if they did have an IEP within 30 days. That is absolutely still an option. There just wouldn't be any updated paperwork to accompany that conversation.
Mm-hmm. And in those situations, if you think there's something new that the team can update you with, of course, we want to hold those meetings. But if there's not something new, I want to respect the staff's time and not scheduling meetings that, aren't going to be productive. And maybe that was too harsh. They're always productive to see you guys. But there is a lot of conferences, obviously, to schedule and IEPs. I don't know how many IEPs have we scheduled so far, Sarah? Probably, I feel like it's already in the hundreds, but that might be an exaggeration.
It feels like in the hundreds, let's just say.
Yeah, I think last year between two campuses, I did 200 IEPs. So
more than 200, Jody.
More than two. Okay, well, at least 200. So, okay. So the one topic that I did want to talk with you guys today about, I think a couple of weeks ago, I sent an email about symptoms and how we're working through students that exhibit or report symptoms. And the easy answer to that is we're following the guidelines. Many of you have already experienced us following those guidelines. As basically any sickness symptom is also a COVID symptom. There's not much on the list of COVID symptoms that would be another symptom of sickness that a child would have. So I have, let's see here. I want to share this screen with you guys. This is, just a visual of all the symptoms, and these are the questionnaire, though ours looks a little bit different, that you're getting every day. Has this child exhibited any of these symptoms today or in the last 3 days? And so you guys are doing a fantastic job of letting us know when someone's had a symptom, and then we're following up with you guys as far as what to do. But the simple answer as to what to do is anybody that exhibits the symptoms should be COVID tested. There are a couple of caveats to that. The first caveat is, say it's a symptom that is not new. Say it's, car sickness. We've had some kids come in with car sickness. In those situations, you can consult with your doctor and get a note, a doctor's note that says this vomiting episode is a product of car sickness. Please allow so-and-so to return to school. The other caveat to that is if you do not want to get a COVID test, you would be in quarantine. And the way the county looks at that is you would follow the same guidelines as if you have a positive test. So that means you would be in quarantine for 10 days. Let me just scroll down to let you kind of look at this here. So this here is that we have symptoms, right? The student reported symptoms. And what we're following the positive test, because that's what they say. If you cannot get a COVID test or refuse to get a COVID test, you have to follow as if you were positive. And so this is the recommendations here. Isolate for at least 10 days, meaning 24 hours after the last symptom. And 10 days would start there. So there's a couple of options to that. Obviously, as far as school's concerned, we'd love for you guys to do the COVID test and do that as quickly as possible so that kids could return to school. At no point, let me just get out of here so I can see you all. At no point has anyone tested positive for COVID. You guys we would be sending out notices of that if that were to happen, but we are requiring quite a few tests because kids are saying, my throat hurts, I have a headache. We have had several kids arrive to school car sick and they've vomited, all of which requires us to follow through with those pretty strict guidelines in getting either a COVID test or those two other ways that I talked to you guys about. So the unfortunate part is we have kids, right? We're working with 78 kids on one campus and almost 50 kids on another campus, and they're going to have symptoms. It's just part of being a child. And so, again, the county, the state, the CDC has pretty strict guidelines on how we treat, how we follow through and respond to symptoms that are exhibited or reported. So that's my spiel about that. I just want to hear any thoughts, questions, any worries, anything that may be coming up for you guys as we're, kind of just moving along, being here more and more. Any questions, don't necessarily have to be about the symptoms or anything like that, but just anything that's coming up for you guys.
I have something that's not so much a question.
Stephanie, go ahead.
It's just to thank you so much for your leadership on this, and also just to say that our son is really, really, really benefiting from seeing other kids again, and it's huge. And so, yeah,
That's great,
really
Stephanie.
appreciate it.
Yeah.
I know you guys have worked so hard, and I just want to say thank you.
Well, we appreciate that. We always love hearing from you guys, and really, obviously, really appreciate the support that you guys have given us. So thank you. There was a question in the comments about what happens at winter. So winter's winter, right? We're in California. Thankfully, we don't have a harsh winter, which helps us a lot. But the same things, the same protocols are in place. We have the majority of our classrooms are open air. We're going to continue with that. We're going to be asking you guys to bundle them up when you send them to school when it gets colder, so that we can keep the air flowing in the classrooms. So the one thing about winter that we are anticipating is obviously the rain coming and how that alters a little bit of our outdoor spaces, but not too much, because our South Bay campus has a lot of covered space already. So that's going to, there's not going to be much change down there other than the doors will stay open. So bundle the kids up. Our Palo Alto campuses, most of our classrooms open onto the playground. We'll keep those doors open, bundle kids up. And then what we're looking at for Palo Alto is just getting as many tent options, bigger tents that we can have outside, so that kids can continue to go outside and be out for breaks, be out for recess, those types of things. So we've already started pricing out some bigger tents. It gets a little bit complicated with the very large tents, because the county requires us then to look at permits and flooring and all of that stuff. So we're trying to figure out how big we can go without having to get too many bureaucrats here and looking into what we're putting up. So we're still working on that. We still have some time. The rain isn't coming, as far as the next couple of weeks. So at least that's what it looks like on the weather. I check the weather often, check the air quality obviously often. So we're looking into that, those options. Anything specific about winter that I maybe didn't address?
I have a question about.
Yeah, Tatiana, go ahead.
Hi, I have a question. So if a family has to quarantine, what does that look like in terms of, like, is the kid basically just on break? Are they sick? I mean, because they're not really sick, right? Do they get work sent home? Is there a distance learning aspect? What does that look like?
There is, yes. And we actually, that's exactly how we're working through some of these things. There is some kids that have already been on quarantine because they really weren't able to get the COVID test, or, that kind of was, it was a longer process than they had hoped. So that's already in place. We would actually just deploy our distance learning platform. And that's already taken place for kids that have had to stay, maybe stay home for, COVID testing and things like that. some of you guys had this had a COVID test maybe early on in our reopening, and that may have not been your experience with getting distance learning. That is now our protocol. Our academic team have put together, a specific protocol that when kids are not sick, essentially, right? I have a sore throat, but it's gone the next day, that they have an option of being in distance learning until we get the negative COVID test back.
And does that look like live streaming into the classroom, or is there like a time when they have a one-on-one breakout, or what does that look like?
It looks different for certain situations. The students that can participate live streaming into the classroom, that is what they're doing. But that's not all students. We all know that. We have some students receiving packet work because that's how they learn best. So it's I wouldn't say it's fairly individualized, depending on the specific situation and depending on how the student best learns. Sarah, did you want to follow up?
Yeah, so basically, Nora, Betsy, and I talked to the academic team last week, and they've got a plan for every single student. And so it might be best to go ahead and at your parent-teacher conference, you can say, what is the plan for my student if he or she has to go into a short-term distance learning? And we're calling it short-term distance learning as opposed to distance learning, just to differentiate the difference between the kids that are remaining in distance learning and the kids that are only going to be in there for a short time. So yeah, you can definitely ask your team at conferences, or even just shoot them an email and they'll let you know, and you guys can even work out like, okay, yeah, this looks good.
When we first opened, guys, we didn't really anticipate having so many kids exhibit symptoms. And I don't know if it's because looking back, they probably always did, but it was never something that we needed to call so much attention to. So it just would never dawned on us that we were going to have kids coming and saying, I have a sore throat. And then, oh, well, okay, now we have a response that we have to make. So it's been, and that's why we ended up having to make this specific plan, because we are having at least a student every day that we are having to put in short-term distance learning. And it's usually like, oh, I stayed up late, my throat is sore, or whatever it is, and we know that that's the reason, but we are not the doctors that can make that call of, oh, well, that's a car sickness, or that's a product of or side effect of your medication or whatnot. We can't do that. And so we're adhering very strictly to those protocols. And I hope that everyone understands it's because we want to keep your kids safe and keep our staff safe. Other questions that are coming up for you guys? This can't possibly be the shortest town hall that we're going to have on record at 23 minutes. There's got to be something that you're itching to ask me. If you're not, that's great. Maybe we're keeping you well informed. Okay. Anything from the staff that you guys can think of that maybe that's come up, that maybe just a little clarification?
I just wanted to encourage everybody to get the flu vaccination, just so that we can, so that we're not going to have twins illnesses and symptoms going on. And so then at least, if they have the vaccination, we might have a nice calm flu season this year.
Yes, hopefully. Our staff we had flu vaccinations on campus, 2 weeks ago? Was about 2 weeks ago? Yeah, last Wednesday, two Wednesdays ago, or 2 weeks ago Wednesday. So, good for all of our staff to be protective, but that would be fantastic if, you guys were thinking about that for your children as well. Okie dokie. Wow, I'm impressed. I'm impressed by you all.
Jody, I have one thing.
Okay, Crystal.
So a couple parents have called me about picture day, but we postponed it.
I already told them.
The wrong calendar.
You came in late, Crystal. You missed all the updates. I told them. We'll send out an email too, because obviously we don't have everyone on this on this town hall right now. So we'll send another email I'll probably send it next week. So I'm not bombarding you guys with so many emails. Okay. Well, if that's all, I will wish you all a very relaxing weekend. And we have some things going on next week. So I'm looking forward to those activities with the kids. I did get pumpkins for all the kids. So the kids will come home with a pumpkin. Something from fall they'll come home with. I don't know if they're coming from Half Moon Bay. The ones I brought down to South Bay campus, I actually brought from Half Moon Bay. So, but I'm not sure about all the other ones. They were nice and dirty. All right, guys, we appreciate you all. Thank you so much. Have a fantastic weekend. Okay.